It's the day after Christmas. What do the Tar Heels need to return in order to make sure they have a successful brand new year?
This is David Noel, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Friday, December 26th, 2025. Happy Boxing Day to all you Canadians and Brits out there. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, now the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thanks for making us your first listener watch as you go into the post-Christmas New Year's weekend. Special shout out to all you everydayers here with us, all the members of Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Man, I hope all of you had an absolutely wonderful Christmas day yesterday, whatever it is you do. I know that it's not an incredible day for some people. So for those of you who it's not a great day, I need you to know that, man, I was thinking about you and praying for you throughout the day as well. And joining me on this day after Christmas Day is none other than our guy, Mr. Josh Marlow from the Four Corners podcast, from the Heel Tough blog, him and Pagnotta holding it down. Marlow, brother, Merry Christmas to you.
Schade, Merry Christmas to you. I hope you and your family had a tremendous holiday. Hope you got all the gifts that you wanted and so much more. I know I did. Extremely blessed, extremely thankful for obviously the gifts, but more importantly, the time with the loved ones, and really thankful we've got a fun basketball team to talk about and really just gloat about, because we had high expectations. I think they met them. I think they've exceeded them, and they put themselves in a really strong position to do some real special things, and the type of things that, yes, as Carolina fans, we want, we expect, we borderline demand. But when you're seeing 11 new guys come in and do what they've done this year, it does add, just adds a little bit more credibility to a head coach who's under a lot of pressure. And it just really adds to a different sense of urgency to what Carolina is accomplishing, because this is just a one group, 1 year thing. It's going to look completely different next year, but cannot be less happy, or I guess more happy than what we've seen so far, because I think Carolina is really, really good. And they've been very underrated, in my opinion, in the first month and a half of the year.
And the beautiful thing is, Marlow, as you and I were talking about before we started recording, that said, they've done all that, and there's still some easy and obvious things for them to work on in ACC play. And what a brilliant and beautiful segue that is into what we're talking about on the show today, because it's the day after Christmas, and we all got things that didn't fit, or you needed a different color, whatever. You got to take it back to the store. So we're going to discuss what Carolina needs to take back to the store so they can be rolling coming into the new year. We'll move on to talking about, hey, Seth Trimble's back in the mix. So what does that mean for Carolina's ceiling? What does it look like? How is he unlocking things? And then we're going to wrap the show by discussing the ACC projections now updated, right? We did that all preseason, but now that we have non-conference play under our belt, 13 data points of the regular season, Marlow and I are going to make some adjusted, updated ACC and postseason projections, all coming up here today. So, Marlow, let's start right into these Boxing Day things. And it's just a fun little easy way to get to talk about basically what does Carolina still need to do, right? So, yes, maybe I got a shirt that's way too small and it's like a medium or something like that. Marlow got a shirt that's like red or royal blue, and he's like, no, that will not touch my body. So we got to make some returns. So that's the question. What should Carolina return to the store that they either need to start doing or stop doing as we enter ACC play? Marlow, kick us off.
First off, I'm jealous that you're still able to wear mediums. I haven't worn a medium since I was
I'm saying I got to take this medium back, bro.
I guess what stop doing or start doing, they need to stop missing free throws and start making them. That's probably the biggest criticism that from Carolina's offense, outside of the obvious. They got to shoot a better percentage from behind the 3-point line. But 19 of 30 the other night against East Carolina. They were 7 of 13 against Ohio State. A big reason why that game was as close as it was, especially down the stretch, and the dramatic win at the CBS Sports Classic. And then they probably need to stop allowing as many offensive rebounds to the opponent. That's probably like the biggest weakness. I think Pags read a stat after we recapped ECU where Carolina's like 160th in opponent offensive rebounds per game or something like that. I don't remember the exact stat. He probably got it wrong anyway, knowing him. But regardless, when you go through the ECU box score, you see 20 offensive rebounds. That number stands out, and that wasn't a blimp on the radar. There have been some other games that Carolina has been, just not as tight on the defensive boards as you maybe want to be, and that could be me being overcritical. They're top 10 in the country in defensive rebounds, but you're going to face better competition starting with Florida State on Tuesday. You give up 20 offensive rebounds, they're going to get more than 8 second chance points. That's how you get beat by teams that should not beat you, and that's something Carolina still needs to avoid once we get into league play. So for me, it's pretty simple. They need to start making free throws. They need to be a 75+% free throw shooting team, and they need to stop as many offensive rebounds to opponents if they really want to elevate themselves to ACC contenders and a threat to win the national championship.
Marlow, you said you were being kind of hypercritical with it, but what I love about that is it's that old adage that coaches do of like, hey, when I stop yelling, it's because I've stopped caring. And I like that we're able to be hypercritical because Carolina did so much in non-con play where it's like, so let's get into these things that really, we're not talking about communication on defense like last year. We're not talking about hustle and diving after balls because these dudes get after it. And so I love that that you can be hypercritical in that ways. Go ahead. It looks like you want to say something.
Yeah, I just was going to follow up. I've gotten to a place with this team where my criticism is because of what I believe they can be.
Yes.
If I didn't believe they could be what I talk about them being, the criticism would still be there because I'm a critical person, but it would be out of anger and frustration. The criticism that I had last year where it was, we don't talk on defense, we don't run back, we don't do all the little things we expect the Carolina basketball team to do. But I've watched them blow out a Kansas team in the second half with Darren Peterson. I watched them win a game on the road at Kentucky where there was just like a meat grinder where they had to win a game in the 60s while shooting 40%. They were able to do that. You had the adversity of the Ohio State win where you blew a double-digit lead. You're down 3 with 45 seconds to go. What are you going to do? You make winning plays to come back and win a ball game. And so that's why the criticism is still there, but it's because I think now they've shown me what they can be and what they're capable of doing and what they're capable of being. And so now the goal, the challenge, the quest is to become that team for 40 minutes. And I can be critical and not mean anything in the world, but Hubert Davis said after the ECU win, I'm happy, but I'm not satisfied.
Yes.
I don't know if Hubert Davis says that 3 years ago. I really don't. I think you can say it's coach speak, but I think that's him telling you, I know how good we can be, and we haven't gotten, and we're just starting to scratch the surface. So if he's going to be critical in a positive way to get more out of his team, I'm very comfortable being critical, knowing that if my criticism leads to better basketball into January, February, most importantly, March, I'm all on board, baby, because I want to win those games as opposed to lose them.
And to that point, you mentioned Carolina giving up that double-digit lead and having the cojones to come back and win the basketball game. You'd much rather do that than what Duke did, give up an even bigger lead on Saturday and not be able to get back over the hump when it was all said and done. Going back to the offensive rebounding numbers, a couple different ways to look at it, Josh, just to put some specificity to it, whether Pags was right or not. Carolina is allowing their opponents 27.6 offensive rebounding percentage, which is 69th in the nation. And then just in terms of not tempo adjusted number, just the raw number, Carolina is allowing 11.5 offensive rebounds a game, which is 265th, on the bad side of it. And so that's kind of where the offensive rebounding numbers sit. And so I think those are all really good things that Carolina needs to switch out for a different size or a different color, Marlow. The thing for me that I would be returning is preseason expectations of Kyan Evans and Luka Bogavac. And what I mean by that is this. I think they're getting an unfair shake of like, oh, well, these guys are awful. They're not awful. They're just not doing what the high level expectations that we all put on them preseason, right? If they're not living up to expectations, they're not living up to the expectations that we set for them.
Yeah.
And so what I need to do is it's almost like my own reframing of thinking about who they need to be. And I think part of it is with Kyan settling into what Carolina needs him to be in his role. And that kind of has changed because of what Derek Dixon brings to the table. That has kind of changed with Seth now being back in the mix. That's kind of changed with, some of these other things. With Luka, what I'm very curious to see is now with Seth back, Luka slides to the 3 where it's maybe a little less athletic necessity as opposed to him playing the 2. Does that allow Luka to settle in a little bit more as he continues to let's not forget, everybody, this dude's been in America for all of 3 months, and about a month and a half ago, didn't think he was going to be playing a basketball game because the freaking NCAA wouldn't clear him. And so this dude's still getting settled in to who he needs to be. So Marlow, I think all that said, the thing I'm returning is taking back my preseason expectations for both of those players and getting some new ones. That said, Bogavac is still averaging double digits. Yes, he had these couple games blip. I'm curious to see how he settles in an ACC play and what he can do for Carolina.
Yeah, I think the thing I have struggled with when it comes to Kyan Evans is we know how important that position is come March. Carolina's winning with what he's doing right now, and it's good enough. Does it translate against Louisville? Does it translate on the road against Duke and Cameron Indoor Stadium? Can we get that production and win at NC State? That's what my question is. And those are games that I want to win, and I want to win them very, very badly.
Heck, at Virginia, does it, good grief.
And I guess Hubert Davis has expressed zero frustration with him. So now granted, we've seen the minutes fluctuate. We've seen Derek Dixon out-minute him here recently. Part of that is foul trouble. So part of that is production. I don't want to take away, though. He's still Carolina's leading assist man at near 4 assists per game. I think when he's allowed to defend, unlike the Ohio State game, I think he's a really good and willing defender. I think he tries to split ball screens. I think he does a really good job when Carolina wants to fight over as opposed to go under.
Yep.
I think he does a really good job at doing that. And I don't want to take away from that. Everything we know about the sport just tells you need more from your point guard than what he's giving you. And maybe now that we've got Trimble back, my guy's ready to explode, and he's ready to become a 40% three-point shooter that's giving Carolina 8, 10, 12 points a night. The Luka Bogavac thing is going to be, I think, the most interesting. Now that he's back at his most natural position, I've just been really surprised. Pack said that he's a 21-year-old international pro that looks like a freshman at times. He makes that mistake where he goes 1-on-3 on a fast break, and he's not Seth Trimble who can make the play. He dribbles into a defender, doesn't get a foul, and usually leads to a turnover held ball or something like that. I really do wonder if the physicality of the American game is maybe something that he didn't account for and he's still adjusting to. With that being said, I still love his shot selection. I still love, for the most part, when he's forcing the issue, it feels like it's the right time. So you can tell that he still has a good feel for the game. And you just think at some point the shots are going to go in because Carolina needs that fourth scorer. You know what you're going to get from C-Dub. You know what you're going to get from Big Henri. Trimble's going to be Trimble. But I think you need that fourth scorer that you can count on. And if whichever one of those guys emerges, that'll be, I think, the telltale sign to Carolina's ultimate ceiling. Something we'll talk about a little bit later on here in the show.
And I'm with you. I think Luka is the most obvious candidate to fill out that quartet to be the fourth musketeer, whatever you want to say, Marlow. Speaking of Seth Trimble's return, we've seen now 2 games with him back. That said, as you just alluded to, what is Carolina's ceiling and what do they need to do in ACC play to reach that? That's where we'll head coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, you guys, NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're actually reacting to it in real time. And with FanDuel, you can place live bets as the action unfolds. It's every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. And FanDuel lets you jump into every one of those live moments because the live spreads, the money lines, they adjust instantly. So you can bet the next touchdown score. You can bet on the result of this drive, whatever it is. How about some Wooden Award odds from FanDuel? Cam Boozer leads the way at -135, followed by AJ DeBonta at +300, Yaxel Lendeborg from Michigan at +1400. And then how about this? Caleb Wilson, now tied for 4th with Purdue's Braden Smith at +1600. So if you think that's a good go, you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thanks again for joining Locked On Tar Heels for the beginning of your Boxing Day. Thanks for making Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network out there. Also want to invite you to join our brand new Everydayers Club. For those of you that are with us all the time, this is a brand new club. It's got 2 different tiers that you can access. We'd love for you to get the next level going deep with the show. All right, Marlow. 2 games with Seth Trimble back in the fold, kind of mirroring his first 2 games of the season. His first 2 games were 12 and 17 points. His last 2 games since returning are 17 and 12 points. And to me, Mr. Marlow, it is clear and obvious that this team is wildly better with Seth back in the mix for a multitude of reasons, both on and off the court and on both sides of the court when they are on it. In your mind, Josh Marlow, from what you've seen in the 2 games since Seth's return, what now is the Tar Heels ceiling for the 25-26 season?
I think it's what we wanted it to be when this roster was put together. They can win an ACC championship with the production you're getting down low, with the best front court duo, in my opinion, in the country. I know some people might argue Florida and some others. I think what you're getting from Wilson and Veesaar is clearly the best. And it's not going to go away. That's consistent production. Carolina's going to get 30-plus points, 20-plus rebounds, night in, night out from those 2 guys. Not many teams can hang their hat on that. Carolina can. And so I think that the path to winning this league is a lot more open. Even with what Duke did in their non-conference season, winning the games that they did, they beat they beat a Kansas, they beat an Arkansas, they beat a Florida. They won some high-profile games. But they weren't as easy as they were a year ago. They weren't dismantling teams like they were a year ago because Concanipple was, Cooper Flagg's Robin. Cam Boozer's a heck of a player.
Good night, dude. Yes.
Terrific player. If I want to be honest with you, fun to watch. Duke doesn't have that second guy yet that's emerged. And you look at Louisville. Louisville's maybe got the most fun roster constructed in the conference, but we've seen them in 2 games when the ball doesn't go in from the outside. What's happened? They've gotten their butts kicked. They've gotten physically beaten up on the interior. They've gotten beaten on the boards, and that's something that you could see Carolina doing when they play in the Smith Center later this non-conference season. So I think league-wide, I think the ceiling is ACC championship. And I think they've elevated themselves to national title contender. I know you're aware of it because I saw your tweet and I referenced it. 2 weeks ago, we had the AP poll that for the past 20 years has given us our national champion. Those were teams inside the top 12. Carolina was not inside the top 12. So if we want to go off that data, and then it's probably a smart choice because there's so much proof in the data, that data would suggest that Carolina would not win a national championship, but we've got the asterisk because we didn't have our best player in the backcourt on it, And I will admit this, Carolina's in that second tier of title teams.
Sure.
I think they've emerged as a national title threat, but I don't think they're in the same class today as Arizona, as Michigan, as a UConn, as a Houston. But are they in that second wave with the Duke,
Absolutely.
with Michigan
Absolutely.
State?
Yes.
I think they are. And so that's Carolina's ceiling. It's Final Four national championship. And that's where it should be with what Carolina with what Carolina has done so far. 16th in the net. You got 3 quad one wins. You've done a lot of good. That would suggest the computers like them. The computers numbers suggest they're a national title contender. And so I think that's their ceiling now that they've got Seth Trimble back, their most important player in the half court on offense, and their most valued and much needed perimeter defender.
Marlow, I would agree with all of that assessment about where the ceiling is. The problem, as you and I know, is that the real world does not always exist at the ceiling. There is a spectrum from the ceiling on down to the floor. That said, I think Carolina's floor also goes higher with Seth Trimble's return, and the variability shrinks as well. Like, I think not only do they both go up, but I think the gap between them shrinks because of the baseline that Seth Trimble brings to the table, if you'll allow me that. But that said, in order to reach that ceiling that you just said that I'm going to co-sign, what will Carolina have to do during these 18 games of the ACC schedule to get to reach those heights, or at least very close to it?
I was not prepared for that question. I think it's very simple. It's win basketball games. That's the simple answer, but I want to give you a little bit more than that. You deserve better than that. If they really want to cement themselves, we got to see what they can do away from home, because I think this team's gonna win at home. And look, they're going to go to some environments that they've never been before. They're going to go to SMU. They're going to go to California. They're going to go to Stanford. Doug Sherman told me on Monday night's broadcast, those are ACC rivals now. What are those environments going to be like? But with the way that Carolina scheduled this non-con, you've played one true road game. Now, granted, that one true road game was at Rupp, and that was the most impressive win, I think, in a lot of ways that Carolina was able to secure that. But that's kind of been the thing for Hubert. When Carolina's been really, really good, they can take their basketball anywhere and win. That's what they did 2 years ago. They did that year one during the magical run to the national championship game. When it's been bad, it's because they leave home and they forget how to play. So I think that's really going to be the thing. But I think the veteran experience, the maturity of this group, I like to call them the professionalism of this group, because they're now getting paid significant money to perform at the level that they're performing. I think that's going to be something that really elevates them. Something, if you want, like, intangibly, they got to shoot the ball better from the outside.
Agreed.
You need to see. They aren't going to shoot 48% from three every game, but they need that potential every time they walk on the court. If they can do those two things, Schade, I think they could really emerge, because I think, Duke's really good. Louisville's really good. I'm bought in on Virginia, but there's a bunch of question marks after that, to where now I think, Carolina's floor is finishing fourth in this conference. Going into the year, I think their floor was maybe not getting that all-important double bye come ACC tournament. I don't see a scenario in which that happens, and I think their floor has been raised to, at the worst, I see this team getting come tournament time as a 4 seed, where I thought maybe that floor was a 6 seed at the beginning of the year. I think they've now elevated themselves. I think when we get the top 16 seed, you'll see Carolina's name listed on there. Yep. I think by the time we come Selection Sunday, Carolina will be among the top 16 seeds listed, because I think that's the floor of this group now.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about the three-point shooting, Marlow, you know what a stats nerd and dork I am. One of the things I have done is one of my spreadsheets I keep is the three-point percentage of every national champion of the 64 to 68 team era.
Mm-hmm.
All but 6 of those teams have been 36% or better from beyond the arc. And literally all of them have been at least 33% rounded up. There's one, the UConn anomaly in 2011 was like 32.9%. So that's the lowest. So Carolina right around that low range. But if you want them to be a national champion contender, 36% or better is what they need to get to, which is not that far away. As you said, they're not going to shoot 48% every game like they did on Monday night against ECU.
Yeah, but we're in the vortex, brother.
Yeah, right. We are, man. Good grief. But if they could just get it up like 3 percentage points, we'd feel much better about where things stand. To your point about those road games, man, I love that. They're going to have to perform on the road. I think that BYU game also helps that they played in non-con play. While that was not a regular season game, that was a regular season environment. Like BYU was there for that game. And so you do have that one along with the Kentucky game. And to your point about the new locales that Carolina will travel to, we get all 3 of those within the next 5 games because you host Florida State, then you go to Dallas for SMU, then Wake Forest comes to the Smith Center, and then you head out west to the California schools. So those 3 new arenas, Carolina will be done with them by Saturday, January 17th. So we're going to know a lot more about how this team can handle those by the time we get to mid-January, like less than a month from now, Marlow. And so that'll be great to find out. All right, last thing we want to get to is on the show today. Obviously, we all made a lot of postseason projections, a lot of ACC projections before the season started. But now we have all of non-con play under our belt. So how are we adjusting it? Marlow and I are going to update that coming up to wrap the show in just a second. Right after I tell you about game time, y'all, there's nothing like college football season. The tailgates, the packed stadiums, being right there in the middle of it all, the energy, the bands, the moments that you remember forever. But actually getting tickets, you guys, that part used to be the frustrating part. You had these crazy long lines. You had to remember logins, prices jumping up on you at checkout. And that's why there's game time, man, because they're the ones that give the advantage back to you, the fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college basketball and football tickets in just a few taps. Man, look at, we just talked about that Florida State game upcoming to start off ACC play. That's next Tuesday. As we sit here on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That's 4 short days away. Come cheer on the Tar Heels. The students aren't going to be back yet. They need all the support they can get, and you can find tickets for it right in the Game Time app, which is so incredibly easy to use. You can go from browsing to buying in just minutes. I also love the zone deals that they have. You just pick the section you want to sit in. Game Time picks the actual seat, the actual ticket, and with doing that, you save even more money. It's kind of fun, too. It's like, what seat am I going to get? So take the guesswork out of buying college basketball and football tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Josh Marlow, it's hard to believe it, but non-conference play is now somewhere in the rearview mirror. I don't know how that 13-game stretch happened that quickly, but it did. Maybe it happened that quickly because Carolina is actually good this year, and we're not just like dreading every result and waiting to see what kind of hole they dig in the first half and then inevitably dig all their way back out of, only to lose it at the end. Thank goodness we are not going through that again. That said, Josh Marlow, North Carolina is going to go into an 18-game ACC slate. Remember, everybody, they dropped 2 games this year, so it's not going to be 20. It will be 18 games. They will not play Boston College, and it's a whole new thing. Not many home and homes. That's also a thing. It's very disappointing. I'm still sad that NC State will not come to the Smith Center. That is a bummer. Anyway, Marlow, at FanDuel, right now, as you and I record, Duke is the favorite to win the ACC regular season at -120, followed by Louisville, then Virginia, then Clemson, and only then come the Tar Heels, followed by NC State to round out the top 6. Josh Marlow, now that you've seen not only what the Tar Heels are doing, you referenced some of these teams earlier. I know one of the things I love about you is you're not just like locked in on the Tar Heels, man. You're paying attention to everything across the board. So what are you seeing, and how do you think Carolina will fare in ACC play?
Yeah, I think they're going to fare really, really good. As I mentioned, you go 22 or not 22-0, but you're 9-0 at home, and you're winning your average. You're winning by an average margin of roughly 23 points per game. I know there's a bunch of bye games in there, but I do think Carolina has, establish, a home court dominance to where you could expect them, I think, to go at worst, at worst would be 7-2. Maybe you lose to Duke at home. Maybe you lose to Louisville at home. But you look at the road games as we mentioned. You go to SMU for the first time ever. You go to Stanford and Cal. Those environments, man, they really scare me. You've got to go. You got to go to Virginia, and we know the bugaboo that place has been for Carolina historically. And you got to go to Georgia Tech, a weird place.
Same
but, I mean,
thing.
outside of that, I think there's a really good chance where Carolina. I think at worst maybe 7-2 on the road if we are where they think they are. And maybe those 2 losses are. I'm not going to say at NC State because I will never admit out loud that State's going to beat us. Even if Paul McNeil scores 47 points, you got to remember they got a bunch of nice guys on their team, and Will Wade's running a daycare over there. So I mean, I think. I mean, I'm looking at this thing now, Schade. 14-4, worst case scenario. I don't know if 14-4 wins the league. I don't know Duke and Louisville's schedule off the top of my head, but I think that's kind of where I've settled in. I don't think we're going to have a situation like Duke year ago where Duke went 19-1. I don't see 17-1. Last time, Carolina won it in an 18-game schedule. They went 16-2. That was back in Kobe White's year. That's probably the highest of highs that they reach. But I think at worst, I think a 14-4 mark coming Carolina's way because I think while they got to go to some venues on the road they haven't been to, those are games that Carolina should win. And you get some of your tougher games at home where Carolina's been clearly their best, and I think it sets them up to have a real strong result or a real strong showing here in ACC play.
Yeah, I'm with you. Just I don't have Louisville's schedule as well in my head as Duke's, but Duke has to play both us and Louisville twice. Yep. They have to go to NC State, similar to Carolina. They get Virginia at home. I do remember that. And so Duke, maybe a little bit tougher, but some of that. Another sneaky game to me for the Tar Heels, Marlow, is at Miami. That's another place Carolina has kind of struggled a little bit. We'll see with that. They have Syracuse on the front end of a Saturday, Monday with the home Louisville game right after that. And that's up at Syracuse. That one might be a little bit sneaky too if you start looking ahead a little bit. And so I don't think they'll struggle with that, but just there's a lot of sneaky stuff in here. And let's recognize, thankfully, the ACC is better this year. And so a 12-6 mark this year is like last year's 17-3, and so there's a reality to that. But that said, yeah, I'm with you. Like that 14-4, I was kind of thinking 13-5, 13-5 kind of range just to allow for that. And yeah, I'm curious to see what sort of number wins the league this year.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think it's at least 2 or 3 loss team wins the league. And so Carolina, if those couple sit on the fence games fall Carolina's way, which I feel like after last year, Carolina's owed some good omens by the basketball gods, that maybe you could find yourself as a 15-3 ACC record. Ultimately though, Josh, I think that one of the big things we always look at is, regardless of what that record is, the thing you're always trying to do is get one of those top 4 seeds so you can have a double bye in the ACC. How likely is it in your mind that Carolina is one of those 4 teams?
I mean, I don't want to go full Charles Barkley and guarantee it, but I think it's like a 97% chance that they're a top 4 team. I mean, just because from a talent perspective, I think they're third most talented group, depending on how much you really buy into Louisville. But I think for Louisville, their play style really dictates how you evaluate their talent. I think Duke, top to bottom, has more talent than Carolina does. I think Carolina has more depth right now. I think they have more guys they can count on. But Duke may have a higher ceiling, in terms of talent. Virginia's really, really good.
They are.
What Ryan Odom's doing there is it's going to garner Coach of the Year conversation. It's going to garner, I think, National Coach of the Year conversation, because he flipped their whole entire belief system and they're for the better for it. We'll find out really what NC State's going to be year one under Will Wade. I'm kind of rambling here. I want to say Carolina's a 1 seed. Like I really want to go out there and say we're winning this thing outright. I'm not going to do it. I think when it's all said and done, I think Carolina's a 2. And hopefully they fall short to Louisville and not to Duke. But I think that's probably where I see them landing. And I think their absolute floor is a 4 seed because Schade, maybe this is me being too critical. If they don't get a double bye, something went wrong.
No, I agree. I completely agree. Yes.
Now, maybe if something went wrong is Seth Trimble gets injured again.
Sure.
But if this team is healthy, there's not an excuse to not finish top 4 in the league. And I don't want that to happen because then I got to be critical of Hubert Davis, something that I no longer want to be because that's my head coach. I got emotional watching him get emotional, talk about his son hit a 3-pointer the other night. I don't want to be criticizing my man. So let's finish top 4, please.
Yeah, I don't see how FanDuel has Carolina 5th in their odds right now, unless it's scheduled.
Well, comes back, and I mean to interrupt you.
No, go.
I don't, and I know I can talk about this with you because I know you take in the Ion guys, and I know you're seeing the field of 68 guys. Carolina's 12-1. Excuse me. They've got wins over Kansas, Kentucky. They beat the crap out of a Georgetown team that could be a factor in what's a downtrodden Big East this year.
Yeah, they are.
And I still feel like every time that those wins got talked about, it was about what was wrong with the other team and not what's good about Carolina, except for Terrence Oglesby. I feel like
I like T.O. a lot, man.
Yeah. I think Terrence. I mean, now granted he killed Tyler Hansborough on the broadcast the other night when he said the late great Tyler. Yeah. I don't know if that was a dig because they're coworkers or not. I don't know, but he's the one guy that's saying, "Hey, Caleb Wilson might be the best player in the country. Carolina might be the best team in the ACC." I feel like Carolina's 12-1 start has been devalued because of all the bye games. But guess what? You've got 3 wins by 40 points or more. You should beat a team by 48 the other night. Like, Carolina hasn't done that in some of their other years where they've played for a national championship. So, no, it's beyond me that FanDuel has them fit as well. I don't want to talk ill of your partner because they do such a great job, but be better, man, because they're better than the 5th best team in this conference.
No, absolutely. And the way I always say is like, I'm so grateful for FanDuel, but they're missing. They're like everybody misses sometimes. And so my talking point is like, hey, take advantage of it instead of getting mad about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I probably, you should have told me that before then because now I'm mad.
But where I'm at with it is I think your double bye teams are Carolina, Duke, Louisville, and Virginia. Like that seems to me everything playing out the way it should. That's where things sit. Marlow, really quick, because I know we're running a little bit long. I just want to get 2 quick Christmas things from you, if you'll oblige me on the way out the door here. What is your favorite Christmas movie? Like the one that you look forward to most?
Okay, I'm gonna answer your question with the question. If you had to guess, we've known each other 6-7 years now. We kind of go back now a little bit.
We do.
If you had to guess, what do you think it is?
Man, Home Alone 2 Lost in New York.
It's not Home Alone 2, although I'm here for the argument that it's the best Home Alone. My favorite to watch by myself when I'm in the spirit, it's Christmas Vacation because everybody loves Christmas Vacation.
That was my next guess. And I know I have no proof of that, but that's where I was headed next.
Christmas tradition is something that I value a lot because hopefully one day I'm doing this tradition at home with my own wife and kids. Is now that I'm an adult, when my little siblings go to bed for the night, Dad and we put on 1984 George C. Scott Christmas Carol. That's the movie. So Christmas Vacation for me personally is my favorite, but tradition, family, it's still the movie I look forward to the most because it's usually just me and my dad just sitting there watching George C. Scott be Ebenezer Scrooge. That still has a special place in my heart.
I love it, man. And as somebody that has that wife and kids already, because I'm a lot freaking older than you are,
you don't look it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. There truly is nothing better though, man. Like I am an absolute sucker for tradition and romanticizing things like that and for reminiscing. And so, dude, you're spot on. There is nothing better. All right, last one, and then we'll get out. What food is the food at Christmas that if we don't have it, the Christmas meal was an utter failure?
It's going to sound bougie, but I guess that's what my family is. There better be steak and crab legs on the Christmas Eve table. Like, I'm so, at Thanksgiving, it's all about the turkey and the cranberry sauce and the pumpkin pie. I feel like my generation, the Christmas dinner is not as traditional. A lot of people do a lot of different things. I don't remember when we started doing steak and crab legs. I know we've done it for 10 plus years, but that's it, man. It's the one time of the year that I will willingly eat filet over ribeye or even a sirloin because I love those cuts of meat just as much as I do the fillets. But that's our thing. So if I don't see steak and crab legs, it's going to be upset. We also do cheese dip on Christmas Day. Which is just a great middle of the, especially now that football's on all day. That's the best part is I eat a lot of it and then they send a lot of it with me home. So that might be the secondary one, but yeah, steak and crab legs for sure. It's in a lot of ways, Christmas is just as good as eating holiday in my household as Thanksgiving is.
I'm here for the bougie Marlow feast, and I will be showing up at your door. I guess yesterday, Christmas. So I'll do it Christmas Eve 2026. I will be there with bells on to eat some crab legs, dip it in all the butter, and it'll be great. Josh Marlow, my brother, I'm so grateful for you. It's been a great calendar year, 2025. We've gotten to be together so much. Looking forward to a lot more in 2026 as well. Hope it has been an absolute banner year for Four Corners podcast, for Heel Tough blog, and cannot wait to see what the near new year, good grief, holds for you and Pags, my man.
Yeah, Schade. Want to thank you for the opportunity you give me, you give Anthony. I do think it has helped our platform. And you know what, in some people's world, we look at each other as maybe we're competitors, and I won't deny, I'll compete with you. I'm not, you're a Braves fan. I'm a Met fan. I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves and get a little bit dirty. What I love about the Carolina community is that that's what it is.
Yeah.
You can come on mine and I gotta get you on at some point. I'll come on yours and we sit here and just talk ball and we have a really good time doing it. And just can't thank you enough, man, because every time you reach out, I'm pretty much looking at my schedule, figuring out what do I got to do so I can make some time for Schade. Because that's how much, I love you, look up to you, great role model, great inspiration. And so I hope y'all have had a great 2025 because I know you're going to kick butt here in 2026.
Here's to that. Rising tide lifts all boats. Let's be part of that. I love the community spirit that we get to share together. I love you, brother, and I'm thankful for you. You all, we love you as well. We're so grateful that you're part of this great community, and we want to thank you. And if you're not already a good part of it, go ahead and make sure you've subscribed on YouTube, subscribe on audio as well. If you want to join our brand new Everydayers Club, that link is in the show notes. You can find that, as well as the link for the Locked on Tar Heels Discord. We'd love to see you in there. All right, we will be back on Monday. I'll be recording from my parents' house in Johnson City, Tennessee for that show, so make sure to lock in. And then Tuesday, we'll get rolling and get ready for that FSU game. It's coming up quick. Oh, man. But for now, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again on Monday, but until then, peace.